Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nabawi bin Abdul Kadir, Matric Number 2015765, and I am in Section 21 for the subject UNGS 2290, which is instructed under Dr. Maulana Akbar Shah. And today I will be talking about a look into the Halal certificate of Nasi, Kandar, Pelita. In 24 September 2012, the Muslim community in Malaysia nationwide was shocked by a news reported by the Star News in page 22 involving a photograph of an Indian man known as Datuk D. Ramesh with the Malaysian Indian Congress President at a construction site regarding the construction of a Hindu temple. What shocked the Muslim community was not his face, his name, or his shirt. It was the caption that was typed into the reported news that captured the attention of all Muslims in Malaysia. In the news, it was clearly describing the names and the position of each mentioned persons in the photograph printed along with the article. During the starting of the name Datuk D. Ramesh, nothing seems to be out of ordinary until the news mentions one of his jobs that he had. This job, which is not alien to Malaysian society, was typed into the description of Datuk D. Ramesh in said news reported by the Star News. The job being the director position of the Nasi Kandar Pelita, in which can be seen in the caption of the photograph, which clearly states Pelita Nasi Kandar Director Datuk D. Ramesh. The Muslim community in Malaysia was shaken by this news when the information of Nasi Kandar Pelita having a non-Muslim Indian owner spread throughout the entirety of Malaysia, especially among the Muslim community. This has raised serious concerns over the halal certification of Nasi Kandar Pelita, as it would have been normal for a non-Muslim restaurant owner to serve non-halal food and drinks in their premises. Nasi Kandar Pelita, being one of the restaurants which is owned by a non-Muslim, were in fact a new information for almost everyone in the country and has attracted many attention, specifically the Muslim community. Firstly, we need to know the requirements for a restaurant to receive the halal certification by JAKIM in order to understand this issue better. In general, the premise must have at least 2 Muslim locals who handles the food and drinks. All products sold have halal logo and have the appropriate licenses, for example the license for confirmation of halal animal slaughter. The premise is also subject to inspection by JAKIM, including random surprise spot checks at random intervals in order to make sure the premise still follows the Islamic Sharia on food handling and still holds the qualifications for a halal certificate. If found to have broken any rules, or if the premise starts selling non-halal food or drinks in the premise, JAKIM has the authority to revoke the premise halal certificate. This is done for the benefit of the Muslim community in Malaysia, as non-Muslims are still able to eat in many restaurants, while for Muslims there exist prohibitions and restrictions in consuming food and drinks, and making sure that the food is halalan tayyiban is one of the most important rules in determining whether a food or drink is allowed to be consumed in Islam or not. Now, according to the requirements for obtaining the halal certificate for food and drinks premises from JAKIM, it never mentions about the need for the owner to be a Muslim. The closest thing to such requirement will be the requirement to have at least 2 local Muslims food handlers for the premise. In Nasi Kandar Pelita instance, all of its food handlers are Muslims, from chefs all the way to the dishwashers. In respect to the news reported by the Star News, there is no misinformation in the reported news by the Star News, as Datuk D. Ramesh is in fact one of the shareholders of the Pelita Samudra Pertama M. Sendirian Berhad among all 7 shareholders of the company. There have been many interviews done by several parties in investigating the truth behind all the accusations and fitnah online by asking the directors questions in regarding to the main boss of Pelita Samudra Pertama M. Sendirian Berhad. From what we can gather from every interview done by different persons in regards to the news that changed the way the Malaysian Muslims community see Nasi Kandar Pelita, is the fact that the directors of Nasi Kandar Pelita still insist on the fact that Nasi Kandar Pelita premise around Malaysia has Muslim food handlers and serves halal food and are observant to the cleanliness of the premises. Other than that, the directors have disclosed the information regarding the people who share the company Pelita Samudra Pertama M. Sendirian Berhad. According to the directors themselves, there are 7 shareholders of the company. While it still holds true that the fact that Datuk Diramesh is one of the shareholders for the Nasi Kandar Pelita company, notes must be taken on the fact that the main owner is Datuk Uthras and his brother Datuk Sihabuddin, who are both Muslim Indians. The restaurant was first found in 1995 in Penang and was first opened for business as a stall selling Nasi Kandar at a corner coffee shop at Taman Chailang, Parai, Penang. While Datuk Diramesh is a shareholder subscribing to the Hindu faith, 5 out of the total of 7 shareholders of the company are Muslims, while only 2 of them being non-Muslims, including Datuk Diramesh. Despite the rumors spreading like wildfires in social media through only hearsays and unconfirmed news written by a person that most probably never did any investigations on the matter, Nasi Kandar Pelita insists that the food served are halal and that the food handlers are also Muslims. There is no questions about the cleanliness of both the premise and the workers. Therefore, while Datuk Diramesh is one of the shareholders of the company, it does not permit the netizens to ignore the information that could change how they see the partnership, which is the information regarding the other shareholders of the company, who are in fact mostly Muslims. The religion of the shareholders were also unquestioned, as one of the shareholders of the company is Datuk Haji Shamsuri Ahmad, who is a freelancer penceramah who is widely known among mosque goers around Pulau Pinang. Datuk Haji Shamsuri Ahmad is also the executive manager for Pelita Samudra Pertama Amsterdam Berhad himself. He is known to be a responsible manager who oversees the operations done by every premise that is under the company, including Nasi Kandar Pelita. Therefore, it would be inappropriate to really classify Nasi Kandar Pelita as owned by a non-Muslim. Even if Nasi Kandar Pelita is owned by a non-Muslim, it will not affect the halal status of products sold by Nasi Kandar Pelita. Many journalists and investigators have reached out to people with the proper knowledge through the proper channels to judge the situation of halal certification of Nasi Kandar Pelita. One of the journalists, Mazidul Akmal Siddiq, also more known as the journalist who works with TV3 and have worked with shows such as 999 and Majalah 3, had contacted a well-known person with the adequate knowledge in Islamic understanding of halalan thayyiban, Ustad Don Daniel Don Biaji. Ustad Don had explained that a company with a non-Muslim shareholder will not have any effect on the status of halal of the foods and drinks sold by a company. In a realistic situation, if a Muslim, Buddhist and Hindu opens a business and they work together and share the profits, there is absolutely no way to say that the income gained by them were unlawful. If the non-Muslim partners were to use their cut of the profits for religious purposes, what is the wrong in doing so when it is their money? The partners and shareholders are spending their money under their own name and not under the company's name, and therefore there is nothing wrong with them doing so, nor would it affect the halal status of the products sold by them. In coming up with an analysis from the entire story of the issue regarding the halal certification of Nasi Kandar Pelita, it is undeniable that Nasi Kandar Pelita still follows the guideline as laid down by Sharia and the state laws in regards to serving foods and drinks that are halalan thayyiban. Other than that, what the entire situation has taught us is to always investigate and confirm any information from unreliable sources. Unreliable sources include Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, and even online forums and blogs. False accusations and defamation is not only prohibited in the laws of Malaysia, but is strictly prohibited in Islam as it fans the fire of hate towards innocent parties through the spread of misinformation and disinformation. Therefore, Nasi Kandar Pelita is a safe place for Muslims to eat delicious foods and drinks. Thank you for listening, and Assalamualaikum.